hack it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip and zip it, lock it, fill it, curl it, find it, view it, code it, jump and lock it, surf it, scroll it, pose it, click it, cross it, crack it, switch, update it, name it, read it, tune it, print it, scan it, send it, fax, rename it, touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, stock, format it. Technologic, 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 technologic. Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it, chart it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip and zip it, lock it.
Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 570 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what AI means for Bitcoin and what that means for humanity. Of course, I'm going to figure out a way to tie this into the spam war. I am kind of terrified of AI. I have been using it, so that's a little, I don't know if that's a hypocrisy or what, but to a certain extent, it's a tool that technology has made available, and throughout history, whoever doesn't use the next wave of advancements goes extinct and gets left behind. So the genie's out of the bottle. It's not going away. Probably, unfortunately, the only way that it ever would go away completely is if we actually destroy ourselves and, end up with some kind of, is it existential? Yeah, some kind of just world-ending event, and we just destroyed ourselves back to the Stone Ages where nobody can even remember how to do Bronze Age type shit. And so it's here, right? And so one of the things that I've been motivated to do is insert myself into this spam war. And when I got the chance to ask Adam back a couple of questions, this was before the recent revelations, and I was an invited guest, so, tried to be at least courteous. And one of the questions that I asked was, do you think that with the, vibe coding that we have now, will just everyday regular plebs be, contributing to Bitcoin protocol? And I had to go back and check his actual response, but I don't think he was like too bullish on that happening. But I think it's inevitable, right? If we are all Satoshi, and this is an open source project, and even like some boomer can vibe code an app, then not only should every single Bitcoiner run a node, but every single Bitcoiner would be able to contribute code, find bugs, and I'm sure some of them are going to have some really dumbass ideas to change the consensus layer to do different things. But it could also give us an advantage in the cat and mouse game of anticipating these dumbass proposals and heading them off at the pass, and creating user activated soft forks to combat them, user rejected soft forks to combat the ones that do take root, and even in worst case scenario, maybe even causing hard forks in the future. We survived the block size wars. So this is kind of inevitable to me. And what occurred to me this morning was to ask Grok, can AI agents run nodes, Bitcoin nodes? And the answer was yes, they could. Now, they would have to be provided like an actual hardware, or if they're provided, bandwidth, they could actually create, full nodes, either, virtual, or if some user wants to provide the actual like a Start9 server, then AI agents could actually be put in charge of, running a node. And if they're making, microtransactions on the network, they could actually be, verifying those transactions on their own nodes. And so this is coming, and actually may even already be happening. And so then the next question I thought would AI, given the choice, if it's, if the user, installed the protocol themselves and let them run the node, that would be one thing. But if you just gave an AI agent the hard drive space and told them to run a node, but left it up to them to decide which protocol they wanted to run, I thought, okay, well, would they prefer to run NOTs with BIP110, or would AI agents actually choose to run Core v30? And I won't read all of this, but it did come to the conclusion that AI agents would likely prefer Bitcoin NOTs with BIP110 activated, and then for the following reasons. And I don't really know if this is encouraging because of how nervous AI makes me, but it's kind of funny that AI came to a lot of the same conclusions that a rational node runner themselves comes to, is that, you want to optimize for cost, and, you're going to want lower transaction fees if you're going to be, using the Bitcoin network. So you don't want spam competing for block space and driving up fees. You don't want your limited space on the network and your hard drive to be cluttered up with bloat. I don't know why an AI would have an ideological and economic alignment. I thought this one was kind of interesting, but apparently Grok thought that sovereignty, minimalism, and resistance to extractive uses would be important to agentic activity, and would actually care that Bitcoin is money and not data storage, which is the prevailing opinion on my For You page. And maybe it's just that Grok is going to Twitter to find the answers to these questions, so there could be some local bias here. And then network signaling and robustness. I don't know why that this would be important to an agent. So this one kind of didn't really make sense to me. But then it did make an allowance for Core v30 because of flexibility and neutrality, and or if the agent itself was in charge of doing extracurricular things, right? Finding use cases and trying to figure out ways to make Bitcoin do new and cool things, then that agent would probably want to run Core. But the thing that I kind of go back to here, though, is when I've heard Jeff Booth talk about this topic, he is not worried about AI to the extent that most people are, because he believes that Bitcoin wins. And his long-term thinking on that is that if without Bitcoin, then the control system would be in charge of AI, and AI would be used as an insanely powerful tool to exert even more and more control over us. and we would probably end up in 1984 or what's the other one? Brave New World. That would be our future. Skynet, Terminator, all of that shit. The Matrix, all of the things that Hollywood, says the quiet part out loud type of stuff. But the fact that we have Bitcoin, and if this leads to what I think it will, because I agree with him when he says that it leads to 8 billion people in the service of 8 billion people, then the AI is going to take its cues from the humans that are creating it. And Bitcoin can make sure that AI becomes leverage for benefiting humanity and not destroying it. So I'm clinging to that hope. And like the boulder is rolling downhill, so we're gonna find out, right? It's not like, okay, we can just reverse this this experiment or pause and decide not to just have AI exist. But the reason why this makes me a little bit excited for the spam debate is that I don't know if it's the only thing that I agree with Core about, is that it is a cat and mouse game. But their solution to the cat and mouse game was, okay, we'll build a trash can here. But the trash can just accumulates more and more trash and never gets emptied because the blockchain is forever. So even the analogy of calling op return a better trash can doesn't make sense. And so their solution was just like, okay, if you're gonna do your dirt, like do it over here. And they were just not interested in the cat and mouse game of trying to shore up all of the loopholes that parasites and spammers would continue to attack the network with. But that's because they are developers and they want to be creative and they want to build things. They don't want to necessarily just be the kid putting his finger in the dike when it cracks, right? That's not things that people, that's not, inspiring for a creative type person. So I get it. But AI agents are not going to get tired and they're not going to deviate from the mission. And maybe someone will create an AI agent that will be constantly looking for spammers and parasites, finding loopholes in the code and figuring out how I can script images here and script images there, and actually updating in real time and battle testing it. And, maybe it will be, days, hours, or even minutes that these solutions and these cat and mouse games will be able to be, solved almost in real time. And you could probably just set your node to auto update and just accept these patches to attacks in real time, because like, even if that does kind of sound scary, I think it's inevitable, because bad actors are definitely going to be doing this. They're probably, figuring out how that they can create agents to attack the network. And the only way to be able to keep up with that is to have agents of good, I guess, trying to fight that in real time. Now, the fact that the blocks are every 10 minutes, I guess no matter how fast the agents are, we still have the difficulty. And if something bad happens on the chain, that's not a lot of time, 10 minutes to to avoid building on top of I'm going to make sarcastic air quotes here, on top of a bad block. But I think that's happened as well. I think there was an emergency where they convinced the miners to reroute their hash to a different chain. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. And I don't know how many blocks got built and before they were able to get that fixed. But there was some kind of bug back in the day, and they were able to do this. And I think Luke Dash Jr. was involved in that one. So I'll have to do a little bit of research on that. But as terrifying as AI is, it kind of, we'd like to say that Bitcoin fixes everything, and we better hope that it does, because I think it's pretty clear that humanity will either nuke ourselves into extinction, create some kind of bacteria or virus and wipe us all out, or let AI turn us into batteries, or a half a dozen other existential threats that I can't think of off the top of my head. Like if left inside the control system for long enough, we probably add another reason to why the Fermi paradox exists and why advanced civilizations don't get off planet. So maybe we'll figure that out in the future sometime too, right? If we start exploring space and we do finally meet alien civilizations, the common denominator for getting off planet and out of your solar system might be discovering Bitcoin or Bitcoin-like uncorruptible money before civilization destroys itself. It wouldn't surprise me if all interplanetary species end up with some form of Bitcoin as money, and all of the species that don't discover uncorruptible money just destroy themselves and before they can get off planet. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say about that. And wondering if am I actually, so I got a little notice that Restream was not broadcasting. So it says that I'm live, and it's over here on the side, but it's not on my page. So I wonder if I can just, can't I have to post it specifically? Anyway, there was some kind of warning on Restream that Twitter is jacked up. Can't I whatever. Obviously I didn't read it. But I think that's enough said on that subject. I think it's definitely worth thinking about. So I need to watch the episode again, but I'm going to have to cover this Jeff Booth and two physicists. I apologize for not remembering their names, but they were on this Preston Pysh episode yesterday. And it was like some pretty staggering physics revelations with respect to Bitcoin. And like, it was good news for quantum FUD. But the main thing that was kind of like things that make you go, was the phenomenon of a photon going through a slit actually appears twice unless you watch it. And this has been confirmed apparently. And so like the act of actually having a spectator changes the physics of how the photon behaves. And there's a little bit of a parallel to Bitcoin with the double spend. And so Bitcoin, there's just a whole lot of weird shit with that. It kind of marks time, and without like a proper reference for time, like nothing in the universe even makes sense. I'm kind of rambling, and I'm definitely not remembering everything about this episode the way that with the clarity that I wish I could. And certainly I'm going to have to watch it at least one more time to even begin to ask some of the better questions. But anyway, go check that out. It was pretty insane. And I think there's a link to like a couple 100-page, it's turning into a book, I think. But there's some pretty cool parallels to the physics of the universe and Bitcoin. So check that stuff out. What's up, Dana? All right, so with that being said, I will stop rambling and let's check out the market. That's cool. Everything's red. That's super fun. Cypher, what is it? Dropped down from like 17 to 15, $16. So plenty of time left on this. I've opened this with 46 DTE. Nothing to do but sit here and wait for Theta Decay to do its thing and let this number go down, and I'll buy it back for cheaper, roll it out, or worst case scenario, this drops below 13 and stays there, and I hodl this and accept assignment. Tesla, I decided to switch some things around. I bumfuggled this and decided to sell some Tesla to buy the strategy dip, or at least to avoid panic selling some of my strategy when I got my margin call last week during the crash. And turns out that I actually didn't need to sell that 100 shares, so I kind of screwed the pooch on that one. And then if I bought back in, would that be wash sale rule? So I decided to form a synthetic long position, which is selling a put and buying a call of the same strike. This gives me 100 delta exposure as if I had purchased 100 shares. So you can see the delta here is 37 plus 64. Add those together, that's 101. Basically represents 100 shares. So I can sell a covered call against this as if this was 100 shares. I can sell any strikes. I don't have to be careful about what strikes I sell because the value of this option pair will increase 1-for-1 with the share price. Whereas in a poor man's covered call, you don't sell the put, you only buy the call. So you have to be very careful when you marry your short call to your long to make sure that it accounts for unlimited upside. I intentionally bought this 400 days out so that if I do want to take profits on it, I can kick the can all the way to 2027, which would mean I wouldn't pay taxes on it until 2028. And if I hold it for 365 days, I would qualify for long-term capital gains. So a little bit of method to that madness as well. But the process is still the same. I can sell 45 DTE covered calls against this position. I can sell weeklies, any strikes I prefer. And really this would be a defined risk trade. So really don't have to worry about what strikes I pick. With strategy, I avoided, having to panic sell any of my shares. So that was good. I've been pretty aggressive about selling the covered calls. And I thought this strike was going to get wrecked. We pumped to like 135, 137, I think. And of course, I think Bitcoin is back down a little bit. Yeah. So strategy is also coming back down to earth. There was no like method to the madness here. It wasn't like I checked the chart, oh, the 130, that's the perfect strike. No, it was just I needed to generate a whole shit ton of cash to pay my bills and knock this margin use down. If Bitcoin crashes to 58K gang or 40K gang again, strategy probably hits $80 a share, maybe down to 75, $80 a share. So I've got to clean this up now and reduce my margin use. So there's nothing technical about selecting this strike. It's literally just, what problem do I need to solve? I'm going to sell the strikes that get that done the best. And so far, it looks like I just kind of accidentally got it right. Right? There's just flipping a coin, really. There's no magic to this. I don't really believe in TA, so I just don't use it. There's only $50 left in this option, but tomorrow's expiration, so I'll probably just do nothing. If I wanted to roll the strikes, I could roll them to the expected move, double the premium. But if we do run back up to 130 by tomorrow, then I would be, sacrificing $300 per contract. And if I prorate out this $50 for a full trading week, that's like $350 for the week. So there's still a decent amount of premium left to collect here, even though it looks pretty small. So all that to say, I'm not gonna roll this early. I'll just wait until tomorrow. 36 DTE left here. Plenty of time. It's only been on for a week. Plenty of time to just let Theta decay and roll it out in a week or two. Poor man's covered calls. This one, let me see if I roll this out to, see, this would be 2 weeks. If I roll it up one strike, I really can't roll it up beyond that because of the, oh, and this is only for like a 12-cent credit. Yeah, this isn't worth my time. I'll wait another week on this. As sad and lonely as this little bit of extrinsic value is, I've already painted myself this 200 strike call is so far out of the money. The performance covered call is kind of a lost cause at this point. So yeah, I'll just wait until next week to roll this out. Once the 49 DTE is closer to 45, I'll roll this out to the 220 strike. This one is actually not terrible. This is the one that I opened up most recently. And so I'm already all the way down here at the 75 strike. And delta on this one is 84. So this is where your poor man's covered call is supposed to be, chilling around at least 70 delta. But if you settle into the 80 to 85 delta area and the price drops on you a little bit, then you're still above 70. If you try to cheap it out too much and you buy a 70 delta long call, if the price drops at all, you're down to 60 delta and just, getting close to being out of the money. And it's a little bit harder to sell covered calls against those for meaningful premium. But so far, so good on this one. This poor man's covered call I've had for a month. But as you can see, the price was like 150 or more. And I thought, 125 is a decent, safe, quote unquote, safe strike. But it's out of the money as well. And so the value of this bad boy has been cratering. And so this one, there's still a little bit of, there's decent meaningful premium to be had here. 125 plus 40. I could roll this to the 165 strike. for a $200 credit. That actually makes sense to me, I think. Oh, let me reshare without volume. Without volume. Yeah, I'm going to have to roll this down a couple of times. Keep chasing the bid-ask spread. There we go. All right, let's ungroup and find the covered call. There we go. Was this PMCC3? I think. Yeah. And then I've got these cash secured puts. I had to take a couple of these off. That's what actually got me out of harm's way as far as the margin call was concerned. I had a concentration risk. So the algorithm does not like that I have so much of my portfolio in a single stock, which I get it. It does make sense. But so I think I had 2 or 3 more of these cash secured puts. And as soon as I took those off, it gave me like a ton of buying power back. And it made the algorithm happy. So like this one, that's $100 put. I've only had that one on for 3 days. I'm hoping that one stays out of the money. But this one, I'm probably going to try to do what I usually don't do, which is roll, and it's called roll until you're right. And the reason I'm doing it with these cash secured puts is I'm technically using margin without getting charged for it here, because they don't actually deduct 100% of this position from your portfolio. But if I were to get assigned, then it would deduct the full amount of the buying power. So it's kind of a sneaky way of using margin without actually paying for it. But I am definitely still on the hook for this. So I'm going to try to avoid assignment by every 2 to 3 weeks, just rolling this to the 145 strike. And maybe next month or the month after or the month after that, this damn thing will go out of the money again. And this is less about avoiding the debit, because I could just close this and pay the $2,000. But there is some extrinsic value still available here. So it's not like this doesn't have the ability to make money. The extrinsic value is 145 minus 121. So that would be $23. Subtract that 23 from the 27. That means there's about $487 of extrinsic value here. So it's really no different than if I went out to 43 days to expiration and sold, a put at the expected move for $400. It's really not much different. And really, what would happen if I just did roll these? But the reason I'm not rolling them is because to a strike that is out of the money is I would have to pay this full $2,700. So let's roll. So I would basically be rolling out for the same potential credit, or for a similar credit, but it would cost me $7,000. 2,300 per contract. So I'd rather not pony up that cash if I don't have to. So I'm trying to play the roll to your right game on these. because I don't want assignment, but I also don't want to pay. I'd really rather not pay up for this. I don't want to call it a mistake necessarily, but sometimes the price goes against you, and I'd rather just not pay for it right now. I'm kicking the can down the road, basically. No Parking says, I think that fake's job number was a bull trap. Topic of the week, pain. Yeah, they're gonna keep playing the games that they can play for as long as they can play them. See, Mush says, I have a hard time knowing when to roll also. So, when things are going great, I'll explain how and when I roll. So, this is the number, this is the amount of money that I collected, $640. If the value remaining becomes so small that it doesn't make sense to hold on to this position, then I will roll it. I could just close it completely and not open a new position. But for the most part, if it's a position that I want to continue selling covered calls against, then I roll it when this number is of no consequence. But, collecting $40 for one trading day from today until tomorrow, if I prorated that out for 5 trading days, that would be $200, which is, 1.5% of the underlying price. So this is a decent chunk of change, even though it kind of looks small compared to what I sold it for. With the 45 DTEs, it's a pretty similar question. Is this a meaningful amount of premium? And the tastytrade standard operating procedure is every 2 to 3 weeks, you attempt to roll when this price is less than 50% of what you sold it for. And then you're hoping to be able to roll it out for the exact same amount out to 45 DTE again. So if you set this up exactly at 45 DTE and you held it for 3 weeks, you'd be down to 24 DTE. So, worst case of the optimal scenario is that you would have to hold it for 3 weeks and roll it out again to 45 days. If the price drops on you, this could happen earlier. So it's kind of like a two-pronged criteria. Either, 3 weeks is like, okay, it's time to roll this thing, because if you hold it under 20 days to expiration, you're going to expose yourself to more gamma risk. And the price of the option starts to move more and more closely with the stock price, with the underlying price. So on monthlies, 45 DTE, covered calls, cash secured puts, you're going to want to roll it within that 3-week period, probably by the 20 DTE time to expiration. Or if it's less than 50% of what you sold it for, then you can roll it early. So that's according to tastytrade optimal roll mechanics. If you're running the wheel, then you can kind of throw all of that out the window. And you can throw that out the window if the price goes against you and it looks like you're going to be assigned, because when you're running the wheel, you just don't care. Okay, if you sell the cash secured put, price goes down, it looks like you're going to have to accept assignment, then you just do nothing, really. You just wait for expiration, you wait for the shares to be assigned, and then you move on to step 2 of the wheel and you just start selling the covered calls. Same thing with if you're on step 2 of the wheel and you're selling covered calls already. If you don't care about those shares getting called away and you'll just take the cash, then you can just literally do nothing, wait for expiration, and wait for the shares to be called away. So if you're trying to avoid assignment or, having your shares called away, then you'd want to employ some type of roll strategy. But if you're just running the wheel and you don't give a shit, then you can literally just do nothing and wait for them to get called away. Let's see, much. Thanks. I get that. I'm so bullish that I'll close them out prematurely and think dodge that bullet. Yeah, that's a good point, because I think most of us Well, for me personally, I know that eventually, if I continue to do this, I will get destroyed at some point. These covered calls will get wrecked. I don't know if it happens this week or next month or when this thing turns around, but at some point Bitcoin's going to race up 50% in a couple of weeks, and it'll be impossible to roll to a safe strike. It's just going to be like trying to roll until you're right, but that could take forever. So I definitely know that I'm playing with fire here, and but that's kind of a little bit of the excitement for me. I'm a gamer, so this is like trying to get high score, and maybe trying to do a speed run in Mario Brothers, or trying to get high score or something. But if this isn't fun, then don't do it, right? If this is just causing indigestion, then you can just hodl your shares and not put them at risk, or wait until times like this when IV is high, and the optimal time to sell a covered call would be when IV is high, but the price had also rocketed back up. So I got a little bit lucky as well, because I had taken my covered calls off for earnings, and then when the price rallied back up from 100 to 128, I put my covered calls back on. So you can play that game as well. Like, after the share price has already gone up, 20, 30%, you can throw the covered calls on after that happens. But it's called bag holding when you just hold shares with no covered calls on. And so that's a risk also, is that you're not collecting premium while doing that. But if you want to experience all of the upside on a stock, then just hodl the shares. All right, I think that's everything in this account with the IRA. Iron came back down to earth, so I will just hold on to this until tomorrow. This has got as much extrinsic value in it as the strategy position, and the iron position is like what, a third of the value of strategy. All right, Tesla, plenty of extrinsic value here, so I will do nothing. This is a cash account, and so when I collect premium, I want to be able to redeploy it immediately. But if you've only got like $400 and you usually are trying to trade stocks that are $10 or more, $10 stock times $100 is going to be $1,000. So you really can't sell a new cash secured put or a covered call in a stock that's under $10 or too far under $10. I'm probably going to make that exception in my other account for Strive. I think they're down to $7-8. So in the case of this IRA, I stack these preferreds as my dry powder so that I can at least earn interest. And especially when they're well below par, I know the company is going to pump the interest rates on this to encourage buyers to pump this share price back up. They may not be effective, but I know they're going to be highly motivated to do it. And then once this amount reaches, and this is actually pretty close, so if I wanted to close all of these now, I could get about $1,000. So I may actually do that. When is... Okay, ex-dividend is not on the board yet, so it's probably the first of the month. So I'd have to wait quite a bit for this. But what is Cypher trading at? So Cypher's trading at 15. Yeah, so I might hold on to these a little bit longer until they're worth about $1,500, and then I can sell off my SATA position to sell a new cash secured put or another covered call position in something. All right, got 200 shares of Cypher. I got 2 covered calls on. This one is at risk of getting called away. So if I can roll it for a credit tomorrow, I will do so. Otherwise, I could just go right back to step 1 of the wheel and sell a cash secured put. 17 strike. If I prorate this out for 5 trading days, that would be about, what, 65 cents? So there's a decent amount of premium here. I'd rather just buy this back tomorrow for next to nothing. I've got 200 shares of Strategy in the IRA. Getting close to rolling here. So maybe another week. Oh, that was what I was considering. So I may actually, I could use this $1,000 to add some more attack the tail positions. Maybe try to dollar cost average into this 1080. Or find another one and maybe just say to hell with dollar cost averaging. Then again, I don't have to worry about taxes in this account, so same deal here. Got myself into a little bit of trouble because this long call is out of the money and just makes it a little bit more difficult to find meaningful premium here. This is below 50% already, so following that rule, I would already be looking to roll this down. But if I roll it down to 165, it's like a small credit. So unfortunately, I would love to roll this for a credit, but it's only been on for 3 days. It really hasn't decayed much to time. The only decay really has been from the price moving down. So I'll hold on to this for another week or two. All right, my spending account, this one's a margin account as well. And so I'm using Cypher as a premium generator, and then I collect those premiums and I use them to buy long positions. And then because they haven't really counted this cash secured put fully against my buying power, I've been kind of double dipping and just buying a ton of preferreds. This is supposed to be stable dry powder, but unfortunately it's down, I don't know, 5% from what I bought it. I'm not worried about the price not coming back to par. I'm quite certain that the company's motivated to get that back up to 95 a share. And Strategy has had to do that a while too, right? They've had to continue. I guess Strategy has increased their dividend premium or dividend payout 10%. It started at 10%, went to 10 and a quarter, 10.50, 10.75, 11. I think it's 11.25 now. It's 11.25, something like that. So Strive will have to do the same thing. They'll just keep increasing the dividend every month or however often they do it. But yeah, this is not ready to roll. So just be sitting and waiting. All right, the 5K account. The $15 call. I will probably let this get called away, or I'll just close this out tomorrow. In this account, I do want to take a Strive position. Yeah, Strive is down to 788. So if I buy another 90 shares, then it'll dollar cost average my cost down a little bit. And I can start selling covered calls against this position. The premiums are pretty good. The liquidity is not like amazing. But even if I wanted to sell a cash secured put for tomorrow, that's only one trading day. I'd have to put up $750 and collect 8 cents times 100, so $8. That's a 1% return for one trading day. So that's That's actually pretty meaningful. So I will probably do that. I already have a Cypher position here. I've got a Wolf position, a CLSK position. So it'll be kind of fun to make room for a Strive position here, I think. And actually, that would give me enough dry powder to do 2 Strive positions. Huh. Potentially. We'll see how much I have, because I don't think I have a lot of buying power. Yeah, I've only got $39 of buying power right now. So we'll figure out how that works tomorrow. I should have known better with this reverse stock split. It fucked up the strikes for my long call positions. So I really, I don't know. I guess I could try to close these, but I think these are, and staring at this damn thing for the next 2 years it's really gonna suck ass. So I should have seen that coming. I've had to deal with stock splits before, but not a reverse. You basically have to like multiply these stock strike prices by 20 to get the real strikes. So this is like a $300 call, and there's really no market here. I may try to just close them just to unclutter this position. Let me see if I can just, yeah, see, bottom for 15. Let's see if I can get one of these to close. Literally for just a penny. Yeah, can't even get a penny for these things. So probably just stuck looking at them. That's annoying. Now, if they go in the money, that would be kind of cool. But still, I'd have to wait 2 years for this shit, which kind of isn't really the point. I never really buy options assuming that I'll wait for them to go in the money and actually exercise the damn things. So this was just stupidity. Tesla. Okay, Tesla's making a little bit of a comeback, giving me a little bit of breathing room on this credit spread. So I need this to stay above 405. And then it's the rolling procedure. Every 2 to 3 weeks, try to roll for half of the sell price. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And it's the same thing. I'm using these mining stocks as premium generators to take long positions in Strategy and Tesla, 2 companies that I'm bullish on long term. And again, using SATA and Stretch as my dry powder, basically a placeholder for cash that's yield bearing. All right, I think that is it for today. I'll have more things to roll tomorrow. So be nice to your AI bot in case it's your master in the future.